Beneath the fluorescent decontamination strobes, Customs Bay 4 was relatively quiet. I was adjusting the straps on my weighted stabilization vest. Provisional trainees do not usually handle interspecies veterinary transfers. I ignored the density reading. That was my first error. Ingrid Halverson approached the desk. She was 29. She possessed an ash-blonde braid and the cheerful disposition of someone who worked with livestock. As a Solvan, my gravity receptors are highly calibrated to environmental shifts. When she stepped up to the counter, her ambient mass registered as shockingly dense. Heavy bones, heavy muscle. I ignored it. It started as a routine customs biometric. I should have flagged the first aid pouch. If I had read the Galactic Medical Index more carefully, I might have caught it. If you're still here, you might want to stay for what follows. The paperwork was standard. Processing a Class 3 mammalian livestock transfer requires 42 separate signatures, a bureaucratic process that usually causes most travelers to exhibit signs of extreme fatigue, but Ingrid merely smiled and began signing each digital page with a terrifying level of cheerful endurance. My data stylus was running dangerously low on charge. She was chatting about Norwegian cattle breeds. I was going to ask for her transit visa when a sharp intake of breath interrupted me. She had slid her finger too quickly along the edge of a carbon fiber transit form. She was bleeding. Well, leaking a microscopic amount of red fluid which honestly shouldn't have warranted a reaction. Then she reached into her travel pouch. She extracted a small, flesh-toned strip, an adhesive bandage. She'd peeled the backing off and wrapped it around her injured digit with practiced indifference. The strip appeared to be a mundane pressure-sensitive polymer fused with a simple cotton fiber matrix. To my eyes, it was an unimpressive piece of field equipment. It certainly did not look like the kind of technology that should trigger a station-wide emergency alert, but human engineering often disguises highly volatile mechanisms inside unremarkable packaging. I assumed it was a chemical cauterization tool designed for extreme combat environments. Benoshi was operating the secondary scanner. He is an amphibious customs technician. His translucent skin clearly displays his internal fluid channels. Out of what I assume was pure boredom, he ran the optical beam over her hand. His internal fluid channels immediately flushed a highly toxic shade of dark purple. The console chimed. The scanner had flagged an unknown adhesive compound. "Run it again," I suggested. He did. The results were worse. The deeper scan bypassed the polymer and analyzed the biological reaction occurring beneath it. "The adhesive isn't just covering the leak," Benoshi said, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "It is bonding with the blood. I am reading a massive platelet mobilization, between 150,000 to 400,000 per microliter, responding within seconds." "That is incorrect," I replied. "Her fibrinogen levels are converting to a fibrin mesh," Benoshi continued, staring at the data. "It is an autonomous biochemical chain reaction, a 13-step clotting cascade." I looked at the screen. The wound was visibly narrowing in real time. We were watching autonomous biological sealant production. It made no sense. I checked the primary display, the scanner which I had just recalibrated yesterday because Benoshi insisted the ambient humidity was affecting the optical sensors, suddenly locked onto her left hand and began projecting a level 4 biohazard warning across the primary display screen. It overrode all manual controls, sealing the exterior blast doors with a resounding metallic thud before I could even formulate a request to cancel the automated lockdown procedures. The system classified her minor injury as a localized biological breach. According to the station's strictly coded parameters, any organism capable of real-time unassisted cellular regeneration was technically a biological weapon. The room's automated defenses activated. 4 containment pillars dropped from the ceiling. They formed an impenetrable stasis field directly around Ingrid's small, cheap first aid pouch. Benoshi, who had casually scanned the item 2 minutes ago, was now trapped inside the outer quarantine ring. I realized my stabilization vest was entirely inadequate for this level of stress. If Director Osthari reviews this log, my provisional status is permanently revoked. So the scanner is screaming and the hazmat strobes are spinning and she is just sitting there picking at the edge of the strip because it wrinkled. I focused on the faint hum of the overhead ventilation shaft. Maintenance had promised to fix that noise 3 cycles ago. I was horrified and simultaneously annoyed that she had dripped on the transit form. "Is there a problem?" Ingrid asked. Nobody moved. "That," Benoshi managed to say, pointing a trembling web digit at the screen. Your tissue. It is self-repairing, without external medical intervention. She looked at her finger. Yeah, that happens sometimes, she said. I processed that statement. Benoshi processed it. The automated defense grid processed it, though the grid lacked the capacity for existential dread. The medical wing was not sealed because of the physical strip of cotton. The system had locked us down because of the biological implication, calculating that a species that casually carries autonomous tissue repair kits in their pockets, alongside loose currency and breath mints, is a species that inherently expects to be damaged on a regular basis. My gravity receptors throbbed. I understood the dense muscle, the heavy bone. Ingrid's homeworld had not gifted her with advanced shielding technology. It simply provided her with biology that assumed catastrophic physical trauma was a standard Tuesday. The room froze. The scanner confirmed the situation with a bright yellow alert. Autonomous tissue repair. No analog in DAPA-Z. It displayed the specific platelet numbers, graphing the real-time cellular bonding. 78% of index species require external intervention for minor wound closure. Humans do it automatically, while sleeping, while eating, while filling out paperwork. Benoshi slowly raised his personal medical scanner. He ran a diagnostic beam over his own translucent arm. The screen blinked. It displayed a single, depressing line of text. External intervention required. He closed the scanner. He did not say a word. His fluid channels ceased circulating, paralyzing him. Director Ozthari was wearing an isolation suit when he arrived. I noticed a scuff mark on his left boot. Someone in maintenance was going to be reprimanded for that. He approached the containment field. He formally classified the box of adhesive strips as a biological augmentation device, restricted access. She was completely unarmed. Well, she was carrying 20 restricted biological augmentation devices, but at the time they just looked like cheap cotton. Ingrid had bought them in a pack of 20 for the price of a station coffee. The medical wing was eventually reopened. Ingrid was cleared for transit. She waved. A chemical disinfectant haze lingered in the air. On the customs desk sat a single plastic evidence tray. Inside it rested the discarded strip, peeled off to reveal smooth, fully sealed skin underneath. The tray was marked with a red warning label. Biological sample. Do not handle. I submitted my transfer paperwork.